this video I'm going to be sharing 3 key areas that most boxers need to get better at. If you're a fighter looking to get stronger and faster for more explosive performance in boxing, this video is for you, as I'm going to be sharing the 3 key areas that I see most boxers need to develop their strength, speed and explosiveness. My name's Danny Wilson. I'm a strength and conditioning coach that specialises in boxing, work with a range of fighters from young amateurs all the way through to world champions, and I'm the co-founder of Boxing Science. Since 2014, we've been running our Boxing Science testing battery to test an athlete's strength, speed and explosiveness, especially for boxing. And we've had over 600 athletes that have partaken in this testing battery, so we can really pinpoint an athlete's strengths and areas for improvement from junior amateurs all the way through to professional world champions. And we run this down at the Boxing Science Performance Centre, and quite recently I've been noticing 3 key trends where most boxers need to get better at, and this can have a huge implication into your training. So if you don't have access to testing or access to a qualified strength and conditioning coach, this video is going to be really important for you, because you will have the tools that probably tick the boxes that you need to improve on in terms of your strength and conditioning to transfer into more explosive boxing performance. So key trend number 1 is that most athletes struggle with maximum strength. So at Boxing Science, we perform the load velocity profile using the trap bar deadlift. From this, we start an athlete at a lower load, round their body weight, and we increase the weight of the bar 2 to 2.2 times an athlete's body weight. And at these incremental loads, we look at their lifting velocity, look at mean velocity, using the gym aware to feed back to us at how fast an athlete is lifting. From this, we create a profile to see how an athlete is responding to increase weight loads. And we can determine a few things from this. We can determine what an athlete's 1 rep max is, what their target loads are, a percentage of 1 rep max, and what their lifting velocities should be. But most importantly, we look at the trend of the lifting velocities, and we decide what kind of athlete that we're working with. Are we working with a speed dominant athlete, which are really fast at lighter loads, but struggle at higher weight loads? Or we're looking at an athlete that is more force dominant, really good at the heavier loads, but really struggle with the speed at lighter loads. And what we notice is that most boxers fit into the first category, where they're really good at the lighter loads, but they really struggle with maximum strength. And this can be a result of a few things. 1, poor postural stability, core stability, but also the main thing is that they start strength conditioning a little bit too late. For us at Boxing Science is to try and get youth athletes to be partaking in strength conditioning, but we find most boxers only start doing proper strength conditioning a little bit later on in their careers, maybe when they turn professional, when they have better access to resources, financial resources as well, to invest into their strength and conditioning. Also, a lot of the circuit-based exercises that they might do as part of their boxing training are relatively light. This means that most boxers, when they first start a strength and conditioning program, really underloaded in terms of their maximum strength. So what do they need to do for this? Well, first of all, it all depends on their training status, how long they've been doing strength and conditioning for. If an athlete is a beginner towards strength and conditioning, they'd be doing more regressions of compound lifts for the lower body, doing stuff like kettlebell deadlift, deadlift with bands, and starting to incrementally load trap bar deadlift. When an athlete becomes stronger, more experienced at doing heavy lifts on the trap bar, we'll be looking to use variations such as banded trap bar deadlifts, trap bar deadlifts from blocks, and even using some isometric variations as well to really help unlock that maximum force. So key area number 1 is to try and increase maximum strength, because most boxers are more speed dominant athletes rather than force dominant athletes. We want that athlete to become more balanced, so they're strong, they're robust, but also they're explosive for the sport. Key area number 2 is poor rotational strength. So at Boxing Science, when we first started our testing battery, we looked at lean muscle mass of the trunk, as we found this the largest, most significant contributor towards hand speed using the med ball punch throw distance. Started looking at performance tests for this. Did it with an endurance hold, doing some supine core holds and also lateral flexion core holds. But what we found with this, it doesn't really reflect or represent the demands of the core during a punch, requiring a rapid rotation of the trunk to deliver fast and hard punches. So we started experimenting using the pull-off press isometric test. We started experimenting just in the gym, getting some feedback, using a handheld dynamometer, using a crane to create some intent and to start tracking changes in terms of rotational strength. And then we decided to start correlating this with landmine punch throw velocity. And what we found was performance on the rotational test, peak force was the large contributor towards landmine punch throw velocity. In fact, it's probably the highest contribution towards punching force. So we need to help improve rotational strength. This made rotational strength become one of our key areas that we need to develop in terms of boxers. We looked at before lower body rate force development, movement, mobility. Actually, rotational strength plays a big part. It's not just an accessory put on to the end of the session. It's actually a key contributor towards the punch. This made us rethink about how we're approaching core training. Instead of doing some high volume work, doing some body weight work, we needed to work on some more high intensity work to really focus on increasing peak force development in a rotational fashion. We created standards from the athletes that are actually on the program. Now, most boxers that are coming in for the first time are either hitting poor or below average. This is showing that most athletes that aren't on a structured strength conditioning program need to be starting working on peak rotational strength. And this is probably because in their boxing training, in terms of core training, do a lot of high volume stuff. So not getting that peak force, targeting them high threshold motor units going through the trunk, but also the rotational training isn't as significant. So they'll do stuff like Russian twists, for example, with a medicine ball or maybe with a plate. With these variations, the abdominal muscles, because they're quite strong, these are looked to take over, not really developing the obliques. Athletes need to start looking at how to integrate more rotational based training or more training to develop the oblique muscles. So you can target it in two ways. You can look at rotational exercises, anti-rotation exercises, such as a range of pull-off press variations, cable rotations, overloading the eccentric on these cable rotations, and then also doing some high rate of force development work, doing some med ball rotational throws, and then also targeting anti-lateral flexion, which is resisting lateral flexion of the spine. And we can do this with rotational planks, landmine rotations, or my favorite is to do some single arm kettlebell walks, some variations of this, doing some heavy holds, walks, and also doing some banded variations as well. And start targeting this 3 to 4 times over a training week. So key trend number 3 is that even though boxers really rely on being explosive through the feet in terms of footwork and coordination and foot speed, that they actually have poor reactive strength index. And reactive strength index is a metric that we get from doing a 10x5 pogo hop test, and we calculate the flight time divided by the contact time. And what we find that most athletes are under 2.7 RSI. Now, what does that mean? Compare it to this chart here, adapted from Eamon Flanagan's work. They don't even fit into the first category, which is 2.7 RSI, where they're saying any athlete underneath this number should be doing some sort of low intensity, high volume, very basic plyometrics. However, you see a lot of athletes online doing some more advanced drills. You might see the likes of Madrimov, Usyk, doing these fancy footwork drills, doing these really advanced plyometrics and thinking, right, I need a bit of that. However, most athletes aren't ready for this. Most athletes that I have on the program, that start the program, are often underneath 2.7 RSI. And based off this, 2.7 isn't quite enough. Most athletes need to be working on some low intensity, higher volume plyometric work rather than going to the more advanced drills. The biggest contributor towards this is a lack of eccentric loading or eccentric stability when performing these pogo jumps. The higher that an athlete jumps, longer that they are on the floor. So we need to be working a tolerance towards high quality contacts and making sure that the ground contact time stays relatively low. We need to use exercises such as band assisted pogos, bar assisted pogos, to make sure that foot speed and getting that really good technique and working between 10 and 20 repetitions on this. And then also doing some low intensity pogo variations, ladder exercises as well, because you're getting that buy-in in terms of foot speed and coordination, but because you're doing it quite light and not jumping too high off the floor, we're getting them high quality contact times. And we can see really big changes in a very short window. So if you're looking for that low hanging fruit, them quick and big wins in a program, focusing on reactive strength index and improving this can be really achievable. I've seen like 5, 10, 20% changes in just 10 weeks. Really vital to start putting into your program. Maybe you don't do enough skipping as well in terms of program. A lot of boxers that I talk to when they score quite low on the RSI say, how often are you skipping at the moment? And it's like, I used to do it as an amateur, but I don't really do it now because I don't really see the relevance of it. That's probably the number one old school training method, apart from boxing itself, you know, around boxing in terms of like physical preparation. That's probably the number one old school method that's still keeping to the program today, because this can provide a strong foundation for the more advanced and more intense plyometrics that can really help improve your reactive strength. So they're the 3 trends that we're seeing at the moment. Obviously, it's quite bespoke and individualized, but these are the 3 trends that I'm currently seeing from athletes that are coming into the Boxing Science Performance Center and taking part in our testing battery. People that are coming from all over the UK and even traveling from overseas. This product and this service is also available for you. So if you're an athlete that's wanting to find out more about their strengths and areas for improvement, and also wanting an online bespoke plan for you to then go away to your gym, maybe you've already got an S&C coach or a boxing coach that can take you through it, you can follow the Boxing Science training methods for anywhere in the world. So if you're keen to take part in our Boxing Science testing battery, come and visit us at the Performance Centre that's based in Sheffield in the UK. You can drop me an email, dannywilson@boxingscience.co.uk, to inquire more. We do individual packages and we also do team packages as well. If you like this content, hit that like button, and if you're not a subscriber yet, hit the subscribe button so don't miss out on any future content. Hopefully see you on the next video of Boxing Science, but hopefully and maybe see you very soon at the Boxing Science Performance Centre.